Rachel had found the apartment building online, and she thought it looked charming in the pictures. However, when she arrived to move in, she was taken aback by the decrepit appearance of the building. The exterior was covered in peeling paint and cobwebs, and the windows were boarded up or broken. The landlord, a tall, thin man with hollow cheeks and dark circles under his eyes, gave Rachel the keys to her apartment and then disappeared into the shadows without saying a word. As Rachel walked down the dimly lit hallway, she noticed that there were no other tenants in sight. The elevator was out of order, so Rachel had to lug her heavy boxes up several flights of stairs. The stairwell was poorly lit, and the air was thick with the smell of mold and mildew. Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her, and every creak of the stairs made her jump. When she finally reached her apartment, Rachel was relieved to find that it was at least clean and furnished, albeit sparsely. However, as she started to unpack, she noticed that some of her belongings had gone missing. It was as if someone had been rifling through her boxes while she was moving them in. Rachel started to feel a sense of unease settle in her stomach. She knew that something wasn't right about the building, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. As she settled in for her first night, she couldn't help but wonder what secrets the building held and what horrors she might encounter in the days to come. The noises in the building grew louder and more persistent as the days went on. Rachel heard footsteps outside her door late at night, even though no one was there when she looked through the peephole. Sometimes she heard scratching on the walls or the sound of something heavy being dragged across the floor. The worst was the dragging sound that Rachel heard every night. It was so loud that it sounded like it was coming from right outside her door. She tried to ignore it, but it made her skin crawl. One night, she decided to investigate and opened her door. What she saw made her scream. There was a dark, shadowy figure at the end of the hallway, dragging a heavy chain behind it. Rachel couldn't make out any features, but she could feel the malevolent energy emanating from it. She slammed her door shut and locked it, trying to catch her breath. After that, Rachel started to see things out of the corner of her eye. It was as if something was moving just beyond her field of vision, but every time she turned to look, there was nothing there. She started to feel like she was losing her mind. The noises continued, even when Rachel tried to block them out with earplugs. She started to feel like the building was alive, like it was trying to drive her insane. She knew that she couldn't stay there much longer, but she didn't know how to escape the grip of the building's dark energy. Rachel's sleep was plagued with nightmares after she saw the shadowy figure in the hallway. Every night, she dreamt that it was standing at the foot of her bed, watching her with empty eyes. She would wake up in a cold sweat, feeling like something was still in the room with her. One night, Rachel woke up to find the figure standing at the foot of her bed, just as she had dreamed. It was dark and shadowy, with no discernible features, but she could feel its presence. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. The figure seemed to be draining the life out of her, and she couldn't move. The figure vanished as quickly as it had appeared, but Rachel knew that it wasn't a dream. She felt like it had somehow entered her mind and taken control of her body. She didn't know what it wanted or why it was tormenting her, but she knew that she had to find a way to get rid of it. As Rachel started to research ways to banish spirits, she became more and more convinced that the building was haunted by the souls of the patients who had died there. She read about how some spirits were so malevolent that they could attach themselves to a person and drain their energy, making them weaker and weaker until they succumbed to the spirit's will. Rachel knew that she had to protect herself, so she started to carry a protective talisman with her at all times. She also began to light candles and burn sage in her apartment, hoping to drive away any lingering spirits. But no matter what she did, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching her, waiting for its chance to strike again. Rachel was determined to uncover the truth about the building's dark history, so she started to dig into its past. She spent hours poring over old newspaper articles and public records, trying to piece together what had happened in the building. What she found was horrifying. The building had been a psychiatric hospital in the early 1900s, and it had a long history of abuse and mistreatment of patients. Many patients had died in the building, and their bodies had been disposed of in unmarked graves on the property. Rachel also found reports of strange occurrences in the building. Patients had reported seeing shadowy figures and hearing strange noises, and staff members had reported feeling like they were being watched. Some had even claimed to have been attacked by unseen forces. Rachel knew that she had stumbled upon something sinister, and she started to fear for her own safety. She knew that she needed to leave the building as soon as possible, but she didn't know how to escape the grip of the malevolent spirits that seemed to be holding her there. As she continued to investigate, the strange occurrences in the building intensified. Doors would slam shut on their own, and the temperature would drop suddenly. Rachel started to feel like she was being suffocated by the negative energy in the building. One night, Rachel was working late in her apartment when she heard a knock at the door. When she opened it, she was greeted by a group of ghost hunters. They told her that they had heard about the building's dark history and had come to investigate. Rachel let them in, hoping that they could help her banish the spirits once and for all. But little did she know that their investigation would only make things worse. The ghost hunters that Rachel had let into the building seemed to stir up even more negative energy. They conducted seances and used Ouija boards to try to communicate with the spirits, but their actions only seemed to anger them. As the night wore on, the strange occurrences in the building escalated. Objects flew off shelves, and the ghost hunters reported feeling like they were being touched and pushed by unseen forces. Rachel knew that they needed to leave, but the spirits seemed to be blocking their path. As they tried to make their way to the exit, Rachel and the ghost hunters were confronted by a figure in the hallway. It was the same shadowy figure that Rachel had seen before, and it seemed to be blocking their way out of the building. Rachel knew that they had to face the figure head-on if they wanted to escape. She led the way, holding her protective talisman out in front of her like a shield. As they approached the figure, it lunged at them, trying to grab them with its shadowy hands. Rachel and the ghost hunters fought back, using the candles and sage that Rachel had brought with her to drive the figure away. They finally managed to make it to the exit, but they could still feel the negative energy of the building clinging to them. As they stepped outside, Rachel felt a sense of relief wash over her. She knew that she had escaped the grip of the malevolent spirits, but she also knew that she would never forget the terror that she had experienced in that haunted building. From that day on, Rachel made sure to always carry her protective talisman with her, knowing that she never wanted to be caught in the clutches of the spirits again.